What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with a Friday edition of NBA Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. So far, so good here. Ended up on a couple of Memphis props. Now, they're just weird. I thought I was going to get a ton of prop exposure. I ended up finding 3 other plays that I ended up adding to the premium Discord. You can sign up for that down below. Would love to have it. But again, not trying to force any bad bets in, but we're going to have tons of NFL hitting the pipeline here tonight and tomorrow. We're going to have tons of pick'em cards for the NFL and NBA coming up here over the weekend. I guess I'm going to be going to Arizona and watching a bunch of football take place there. My Minnesota Vikings officially going to be in Arizona on Monday now, taking on the Cardinals. That's a huge plus for them. Wish I had jumped on 1.5 Minnesota before that line moved. Now it's closer to 3 already, as it should be. A lot more Minnesota fans going to be there in Scottsdale, or not Scottsdale, in Glendale, excuse me. But we got ourselves producer Jacob on hand. We've got at Eric Lindquist. We're going to have some Twitter threads coming up. Maybe I do one for the NFL. We'll see. We'll see. Lots to talk through, lots to get to, but we got 7 games on Friday. I'm here to make you money. I'm here to talk through the process of my bets, the things I haven't played, the things I'm thinking about putting into play. Yes, there's a lean like on the card here for today as well. So without further ado, producer Jacob, let's keep it rolling. Let's get to the picks. And we begin our morning walk with Golden State and Indy. Don't mind producer Jacob just taking pictures of the screen being a weirdo. Oh, I can't get into my ESPN app. I can't get into my ESPN app. We've all been there, bro. 2-factor authentication. Make sure you don't have people stealing your passwords. Lindy 6969. Yeah, we all know that that's your password. It's fine. But anyway, Golden State getting 6 points. 6 points here on the back-to-back, second half of their back-to-back. And I just want to point out, Gui Santos played 15 minutes in the first half. Kyle Anderson, only 4 minutes. What are these rotations from Steve Kerr? Lindy Waters, 10 minutes. Again, Gui Santos, 15 minutes off the bench for Golden State against Detroit. I mean, just insane stuff. You did have a decent enough first half there from Steph Curry, but we'll be paying attention to any kind of rest candidates here. I think Draymond Green, always live for it. Steph Curry, at this point of his career, always live for it, but it's kind of baked into this number already, which has me leaning towards Golden State here. And I'm paying attention to this game, have been the whole way. They're only up 7 in the third quarter, but they've been going really deep into that bench. Again, Gui Santos played 15 minutes. I think if they weren't on a back-to-back, we wouldn't be getting this ridiculous Kerrness. So I think you probably get everybody back into the mix here. Andrew Wiggins left for a personal reason. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff in California where people are going back and forth. Totally understand it. But Golden State +6. Pay attention to the news. It's a lean like. I haven't bet it yet, but I am very, very interested if you get the main pieces. It's really going to dictate, well, everything about this play. Game number 2, Milwaukee. 3 points they are laying here going up against Orlando, and probably should be, but Paolo Banchero did not come back on Thursday. They saved him for the second half of this back-to-back. Whether that's good or not, I don't know, but they basically were picking Minnesota or Milwaukee. Both of those interesting spots, but the total a little bit higher here than what you had in Minnesota. Got bet down under 200. It was insanity what we saw from that one, but 209.5 is a pretty big total considering Orlando. We don't have news on Jalen Suggs. I think there's a good chance he comes back for this game, but low back strain. He could also be out for like a week or 2 weeks, and it wouldn't shock me either. But the main thing to make of note is Paolo Banchero expected back in this lineup, and everybody else on a back-to-back, though, still going to be tough sledding, I think, for that Orlando offense. You give Giannis one guy and one assignment, Paolo Banchero or Victor Wembanyama the other night, he's going to find ways to be effective because he's in that mode. I've been on tons of Giannis triple-double here of late. We cashed the plus, what was it, plus 800, and then we ended up missing by 2 assists last game at plus 1,050. It was absolutely insane. Kind of like that Anthony Edwards dunk that just popped up on my screen. Holy mother of God, Ant. They're playing Orlando right now. I'm watching this. But anywho, we've got an under of 209.5. Probably a very uneventful game to be betting. Yes, tons of usage going Paolo Banchero's way, but until I know the minutes, it's really hard to evaluate this one. So 209.5, just a lean on that under, probably not going to be firing up anything. New Orleans getting 3.5, taking on Philly here in this spot, and 222 total. Been staring at this one pretty profusely. Now, the Pelicans. Normally, you would say, hey, Eric, they're starting to get their pieces back healthy. Zion Williamson's there. You got Herb Jones being a great defender. Well, the big thing about that is, yeah, you get Zion back into the mix, but now you got Trey Murphy and he's going to be out. And Herb Jones, he's going to be out. And Brandon Ingram's still out. DeJounte Murray's questionable. I don't know. Feels pretty dicey, but I love the Zion piece coming back into the mix. You still get Joel Embiid out, Andre Drummond out, Joel Embiid, Kyle Lowry, KJ Martin. Those are your other four pieces that all out on the 76er side. But Maxey Oubre, George Martin, Yabusele. I gotta say, yet again, New Orleans going to bring enough pace here to this one where over 222 looks really, really good. Now, I haven't bet it yet, which is why I make it lean like. If I don't have a ticket for it, I'm not going to make it a like, but I'm very interested. I'm just curious because I think that there's some ways that this drops 221, 220, and I think we're much more set up to be betting at those numbers than 222. I doubt this gets bet up to 223, 24, so I'm going to sit and wait. I'm going to wait a little bit closer until tip-off because I think that there's ways, just looking at the numbers I am and noticing how line movement's been going in these total department, wait on this. I think we get 220, and I think then you pounce on the over. Sacramento, oh boy, taking on Boston. Yeah, you're double-digit dogs for a reason, but also De'Aaron Fox is going to be questionable for this one. If he ends up out, you're going to see this number move, but Keon Ellis has been an absolute dog on the defensive end, and I think a lot of people have pointed this out. We're seeing like 14, 15 deflections. Like we're seeing Dyson Daniels type deflections from Keon Ellis getting full minutes. And, you know, I think defensively, he's just proven he should be out there more and more and more. And it's weird to me to just like project him for less and less and less in recent games here because you have Fox, Monk, DeRozan, Keegan Murray's back, and Sabonis. I think they're far better off playing more minutes for Keon Ellis if they're trying to win games, but I think they might also be trying to like find some suitors. They need to find some trade partners. This team, as it's currently constructed, is not going anywhere in the West. They need more minutes for Keon Ellis. He's, you know, one of those guys on a great deal where you're not going to be messing with him at the deadline unless somebody really wants in. I doubt it, though. I think we're definitely looking at Fox or DeRozan moved out here. Malik Monk probably going to be attached to this team as well. But going forward, going up against Boston in this specific spot, I got to say, apologies. Peyton Pritchard unders are probably going to look pretty good as we get into the later stages of this one. Everybody back in the mix. And this injury report is weird because you get Jordan Walsh questionable, but Drew Peterson's the only guy who's out. We've just seen so many times early in the day where it's like Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, somebody gets downgraded to questionable, and then you just assume they're out because they always end up out after that news. I don't think we get that here tomorrow, and I'm waiting on Peyton Pritchard props, but in the meantime, I do like Drew Holiday over 19.5 PRA. This is still not one of those like 14, 15 point spreads that they really let Peyton Pritchard go nuts and close down shop. Drew Holiday been getting more minutes, been very effective, and the usage been up here, even alongside the likes of White, Brown, and Tatum. So not saying it's going to continue all the time, but when you've got him for 22 PRA and he's sitting there at 19.5 and it's inside of minus 125, you've got to be betting that. So over 19.5 PRA, like it for Drew. And again, looking at unders for Peyton Pritchard, not what you would normally hear from me. You'll definitely hear this from me before we get to the lock of the program. Check out Lindy50 down below at the link. What is that? Well, it's my premium Discord. It's the Lindy's Discord in Tails by OddsShopper. Tails is a great spot where you can literally do what the name says. Tail all of my bets. As soon as I bet something, have it go live. Get all of the plays here before everybody else does, before the bumps, before the line movement. We secured tons of line movement on Minnesota, minus 3.5. Closed at 6.5 pretty much everywhere. Yes, yesterday was a disaster having the Clippers end up losing, but they closed at minus 220 after betting it at minus 115. I know that on a certain specific day, it might be egregious, but I'm going to be ahead of that line movement. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to find ways to be effective for you a majority of the time here when you bet early on this program. And well, what's even better than that is getting it before this program as soon as I bet it into the premium Discord, talking through the plays, always throwing out pick'em cards, always talking through the specific plays. You get everything, minimum 3 plays a day from me, in addition to everything that you get on this program. So check it out, friends. Let's continue on with the picks. But Lindy50, first month, less than $1 a day, $25 to check it out for a whole month, or $10 for your first week with Lindy50. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. Very intrigued, very intrigued by this entire basketball game. The Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Knicks, and we got a classic going up against Cleveland. Cleveland got the better of OKC. But oh boy, now you get OKC taking on a team that defensively has nothing at the rim. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is questionable, and if he ends up out, I think this play might actually look a little bit worse. But there's a man named Isaiah Hartenstein, and there are not many times that I'm going to go from like a data statistical perspective and just abandon that in the name of an I know ball take. But this is kind of a combination of both, where the data kind of has me a little bit over it, but then my no ball take goes crazy and beyond here. Isaiah Hartenstein, this is a guy that should honestly be happy that the New York Knicks did not extend him, because OKC, they give him a big fat contract, and he's on a better basketball team, and he's going to be competing for a title, and he is going to do absolute havoc to Karl Anthony Towns on the interior in the event that Karl Anthony Towns plays. And I do expect him to here in this spot. You want to be playing this one straight up the line at -1.5, kind of into take. Again, it would be much wider without Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, which, by the way, is something you need to be paying attention to, But Isaiah Hartenstein, I've got him in for 14.5 points and 12.5 rebounds, which again, he's sitting at 11.5 rebounds. I'm taking the over of that. I'm taking the over of his points prop as well. I've got him closer to 26, but he's sitting at 24.5 PRA. And then what I did was I took the little dial on his minutes and I ramped it up about 2.5 minutes, just because he's taking on his former team, which sounds asinine to some people, but there are so many ways that Isaiah Hartenstein walks into more minutes here. First off, OKC doesn't play that many competitive games. Second off, he's playing his former team. And third off, he gets the worst interior defender in the entire NBA in Karl Anthony Towns down in the low post over and over and over again. And I take that meter and I slide it a little bit more to the right, and I've got him closer to 28. That is lock territory when you're talking about 24.5, currently sitting at Bet365 at -120. I love Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he does absolute work. I would actually be a little bit disappointed to not have it be Cat out there, because again, I'm looking for some of those bunnies. I'm looking for some of those putbacks, and that is going to be Isaiah Hartenstein coming back to the Garden. I get it's data, but it's also a little bit of me wanting to boost those minutes to account for the team he's playing and a competitive environment, which again, we just saw against Cleveland, but we don't see all the time here. I think those minutes have a mid-30s type upside for Hartenstein in this spot. Well, we go from that to Washington and Chicago. Oh, joy to the world. Bad basketball has come. Let Earth receive its doo-doo platter. Washington, come on now, man. Like, everybody on the injury report on a day-in, day-out basis. Jordan Poole, Alexander Sarr, Rashawn Holmes, Johnny Davis. You got Marvin Bagley, Malcolm Brogdon out still. It's just, you're so sick of Washington. But Chicago's interesting because Josh Giddey, we're starting to see those minutes fade a little bit towards the end of games, as Lonzo Ball can definitely close out some of these ball games. Now, he has not done much in the PRA statistical categories here of late, but if he had, I think we'd be looking at 16.5, 17.5 in this spot. So I want to throw him out as the first guy that I'm paying attention to, but that's not all, friends. Kobe White, his usage has taken a little bit of a dock up here with Ayo Dosunmu off the floor. He's playing alongside Zach LaVine and Vooch, but Vooch has been fourth. I broke this down a little bit in a Twitter thread the other day, but Vooch has been number 4 in the pecking order for usage. He's been behind LaVine. He's been behind White. And one other guy that I didn't expect him to be behind is Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's still getting up more shots than Vooch when they're sharing the floor together. That is asinine to me because, again, Giddey ain't that good. But we're going to be looking at a Kobe White threes ladder where I do think that there's massive upside for 1, a sharpshooter, 2, tons of volume against Washington. And then the second part of this one, Lonzo Ball over 14.5 PRA. I think there's cleanup duty in store for him. I think that it's kind of a buy low spot as he has continued to underachieve. And again, I'd like to bet more overs on this program because injury news will only work for you or void your ticket. As we get later towards game time, I like to look at more of those unders. And probably the most difficult spot to break down on the entire slate, Brooklyn at Denver. Jokic sat out both sides of that back-to-back. The Clippers, we got at -115 on this program. They close at -230, and they lose outright by 1,000,000 because, of course, they do. Now, Kawhi ended up leaving to go back to California and take care of his house matters. Hope everything is okay for him there. But It's still frustrating when you get such a ridiculous spot like that and you get tons of closing line value and then you get obliterated for no reason whatsoever. But I'm leaning towards the Brooklyn side for this one for a couple of reasons. First off, they don't need to push Jokic. If Jokic is ill and not feeling well, why would you play the best player in the NBA when you just proved that Denver can go out and beat serviceable basketball teams as major dogs? Russell Westbrook, the resurgence man, is out of control. You have a number of pieces off the bench in Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson, who are more than serviceable, plus players on the offensive end in my modeling. And you're playing Brooklyn with absolutely nobody. You have Ben Simmons, who is off the injury report, but still, Cam Thomas out, Cam Johnson out, and of course, your boy, D'Angelo Russell out as well. So tons of ways for them to just rest Jokic. Maybe snagging Brooklyn 14.5 is not the worst idea. That does it for another edition of NBA Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Another week of NBA Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this lovely slate we have before us. I'm going to be in that premium Discord talking NBA, posting a bunch of NFL. If you want to get that well before the NFL video, you want to check out the Lindy Discord. That is at Eric Lindquist. You can follow me. I think I have it posted to the top. You can sign up there or at the link below. It's super easy. Use Lindy50 for 50% off. Would love to see you there. That's $10 for a week. That's $25 for your first month. Look at it on the screen. It's beautiful. Plus, look at that smiling guy over on the right. I'm done. Producer Jacob, thank you so much for another week in the books. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Check out NFL Lindy's for the weekend. Wild card round, 6 games. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Friday.